Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to change the wheel bearings in your Fulcrum Racing 6 C17 rear wheel. So that's a rim brake wheel. So let's go ahead, let's run through the steps. Right, so here we have the rear wheel. So the first thing we need to do is get yourself a 5mm hex head. Put it in this side, the freehub side, in the end there, and then spin the rear wheel round. And then get yourself a 17mm socket, like that, and ratchet. Just hold on your 5mm this side, and then anti-clockwise undo this side. So we'll crack that undone, like that. Once you've undone it, you can just wind that nut off the end, like that. Then we move round back to the freehub side, 5mm hex head again, put that in there. This time you want a 17mm spanner. So you can have an open-ended or a ring on the end, whichever. Put that over the nut there. And now this side is opposite thread. So it's clockwise is undoing it, this side. So just hold your 5mm hex again, then undo this, so it's clockwise. So crack that undone. Once you've just cracked it undone, you can just remove the spanner off there, your hex head, and you should be able to undo that off of there, like that. So once you've undone it, then there's a spacer, little collar in there, so you can put them to one side. And then what you can do is get hold of your freehub body and pull it outwards. You just have to fiddle around with it a little bit because it only comes off in a certain place, like that. You could be pulling it and pulling it, it won't come off. You just got to keep turning it a bit and pulling it at the same time, and then you'll get it to come off. So there's the freehub body. And then we can get at the bearings. In that side you can see the bearing, show you that again down in there. And we go back to this side, then remove the bearing, the adjuster collar there, you can see. So to undo your adjuster there, you want a 2.5mm hex head to undo that. So just get on it like that, then undo it anti-clockwise for undoing it on this one. So just get that moving and then slacken it off like that, just so it's gone slack. No need to remove the actual hex head right out of there, just leave it in place. As long as it's slack, then you should be alright. Then you should be able to undo it like that with your finger, undo it because it's threaded on there, and then remove it off like that. And down inside there, there'll just be a little, you push the axle through, but there'll be a little over the end of the bearing. There's just a washer covering it up. So you might be able to just flick it out with your finger. We might need a little screwdriver. Or say you can get hold of the axle and just pull it on through till it's completely out, like so. And like I say, if you look in there, there's just a washer there covering that bearing that's in there. So you'll either be able to flick it out like that. So there's the washer. So now you can see the bearing on the left hand side and the bearing on the right hand side there where the freehub will go. So we'll go ahead, we'll get those out. Right, as you see, we've got a block of wood there on the floor on a hard surface. So if you've got a decent bench, then go ahead, get a block of wood, put on your bench and do it that way. I'm just showing you it like this so you can complete the job at home and there's no special tools needed whatsoever to do it. So what we'll do, put the block down like that, and then what I'll do is I'll remove the left hand bearing first. So opposite to the freehub side, the left hand side. So I'll put that down on the block of wood like that. So your freehub would normally be here. Then we get a punch like that, and what we do, put it down through and then rest on the inner race of the bearing. So it's like the equivalent of resting it there on the inner race there, but down inside. And then just get yourself a small hammer, look down in there, rest it on the inner race and just give it a tap, and then move it across to the other side, give it a tap and just crisscross it so the bearing's coming out nice and square, and don't hit it all on one side, because obviously you're going to hit it out crooked and it will probably damage the seat where the bearing is. So just crisscross the pattern. Like that. As you see, the bearing start to come out. You see there, it's come out flush with the end because it's on the block of wood, like that. So what you want to do is just hold that just off the block of wood slightly. Just put your punch in there again, just hold it slightly up off the block, just give it a tap quick and it come out like that. So there we have the bearing for the left hand side. So now to remove the free hub side bearing, it's in there. We'll just put that down, face down like that. Then to do this one, I'll just get a 13mm socket, as you can see, deep drive socket with an extension on it, and then put that down in there so it's resting on the bearing down in the bottom on the inner race of the bearing. So if you sit that in there, and then obviously hit that round, and there you have the bearing from the free hub side. So what we do is clean up inside the hub there where the bearings are going to sit, wipe any old grease and dirt out of there, and then you're ready to go ahead and reinstall a couple of new bearings. Right, so when it comes to reinstalling the bearings, get yourself some good quality, well-known branded bearings. Don't buy any cheap ones because they just don't last at all well. You're better off spending the money and getting some good quality ones if you're going to do the job. So first thing we do is, after you've cleaned up your hub and everything, get some grease and we just put round inside where the bearing's going to sit in there. We'll do that on both sides. So spin your wheel around and do this side as well. So what we do, we'll install the free hub side first. So just get one of your bearings, put some grease around the outside of the bearing, and on the side that's going to be inside the hub, what you don't see, put some grease over the sill on the inside there, just to help keep the moisture out of the bearing. So put some over there, and then we'll drop that in place down inside there. And then to install the bearing, see what you can do is just seat it in there, just push it in till it stops just with your hand, just to get it started. And then to actually install it, what you need to do is get yourself a 22mm socket, which is exactly the same size as the outside of the bearing. Never hit where the seal is on the bearing because you'll damage it before you've even put it in. Socket is exactly the same size as the outside of the bearing, like that. Just put that over there like that, and then we'll just tap it down in, just checking from time to time that it's going in square. Just give it a tap to get it started and just keep checking that it's actually going in square. Just tap it like that and just keep checking from time to time, and then carry on knocking it down in. So that's that bearing installed, as you can see there, all the way in. So what you do then is just lay the wheel down on the free hub side, then get your opposite bearing, put some grease around that, and again on the side that you don't see that's going to be inside the hub, put a liberal coating of grease on the sill. And again, just lower it in and sit it in there. And just push on it just by hand there, just to see it. And again with your socket, rest that over there. Again, just tapping it and just keep checking from time to time as you're doing it, making sure that you're holding the socket on there like dead in line with the bearing as you're doing it, and just carry on tapping that in. So there's the left hand side bearing installed in there, so we're ready to go ahead and refit the axle. So when it comes to refitting the axle, what you want to do is put some grease over the actual axle there where the bearings are going to sit as you slide it through. Just help it go through, just push that through from the free hub side back through like so, and then turn it round to the left hand side. What I'll do is just put some grease over the face of the bearing in there, just to help keep the moisture out of it before we refit the washer over there. So the washer has got a bump on one side of it, so that goes towards the bearing, and the dish part is facing you, so the bump on the back of it goes towards the actual wheel bearing. Just pop that in there like that, and then with your collar just hold the axle on the opposite side. Now you can just thread that collar on clockwise. So do that up until it stops moving like that by hand, and then with your 2.5mm hex head again just do that up, just nip it up like that. And that's the collar fitted, the ring back on there. Again, you can just check, spin your wheel like that. Obviously it should spin lovely and smooth with the two new bearings in it. You just grab hold of the axle sticking out and just move it up and down, make sure you just can't feel any play in it at all as well, which you shouldn't be able to. So that's that done on there. Then what we can do is just put a bit of grease just in the end there on the thread, and then put back in the nut on the end. Again, you can just thread that in clockwise like that, and then with your 5mm put it in the axle that side, and then with your 17mm ratchet again you can just nip that up clockwise. Just nip that up. That's done up. Then we turn it back round to the free hub side. So before we put the free hub on, make sure you've greased where the axle's sticking out there and around the end as well. So a bit of grease over the thread as well on the end. And then with your free hub body, obviously make sure you grease the poles and clean them up and re-grease them while you've got it off. And we slide that back into this position. It only goes in a certain place, so if you turn it a little bit you'll be able to slide it in like that. And then what you've got to do is turn it and get it to engage in the actual ratchet that's inside in those teeth. So if you get in the correct place it should go straight on like that. If you're having trouble, then just get a little screwdriver and just push down on one of the poles that's sticking up, then turn it around and push down on another one just while you're pushing the free hub in, and it should engage. If you're struggling, Get your spacer, put that back on the end, and then get your nut. See, the nut has got a grippy serrated piece on the outside what locks onto your frame. So the serrated piece marks go on the outside. So you put the nut on. Obviously on this one it's anti-clockwise, is doing it up, so opposite thread on that. Nip that up like that, and then again get your 5mm in the end, and then get your spanner, either ring spanner or your open-ended spanner. Hold that in place and just hold the hex head and do up your, nip up your spanner. That's the thread back installed. So now you can go ahead, refit your cassette and get the wheel back in your bike. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.